Our next session is Picturing Time. Renowned photographer Raghu Rai will take us through his most famous photographs and the stories behind them. He will be in conversation with Sadanand Menon. And for those of you who are interested, Raghu Rai's magazine is available at the bookstore. Thank you.
Good morning and welcome to this session with Raghu Rai, who it's very difficult to describe him because he's almost a household name in India for the kind of work with photography that he has done over the last 40 years. And the brief that we had was that we would be discussing Raghu Rai's latest book, which is called Picturing Time. It's a selection by Raghu Rai of almost 130 or 40 of the photographs that he thinks worked for him best during his long career of probably 100,000 photographs that he's taken. Now, one had imagined that Raghu would help us by bringing a little pen drive with even 10 images that you could have shown like a reference and so on, but I think today he's in a mood to chat, so that's a good mood to be in for a photographer. Normally photographers are quite reticent to speak.
No, because of the time limit. They said just 40 minutes. Yeah. And in 40 minutes, by the time you start your conversation, it's almost over, you know. That's and right. Seeing pictures, photographs, and then concentrating on each image, every inch of space requires another kind of, interaction.
You're right, but that is an exercise one would have loved doing with this audience.
Another audience,
time. Yeah. Each picture, bit by bit, just to get it explained by a master photographer. And Raghu, by the way, is not just a photographer, he is also a very good printmaker, and he understands the technology of printmaking, understands the science of grains and the blacks and whites and grays, and he has, with great dedication, mastered himself in that. I don't think we'll go into that aspect of all that you did, but let's just begin with the book. What spurred you into even beginning an exercise like trying to choose, say, 100 or 130 of your favorite photographs? What spurred you on to doing that? And how would you make that kind of selection from that vast ocean of work you've done?
Basically, I think, different publishers, different editors, they want to come up with a different idea. So you have to become a part of that idea. Okay, yeah, sounds good to me. Let's do it. So it's that kind of exercise. The truth is that, you see, sometimes in interviews, they ask you, which is your most favorite photograph? Which year was the best year? One is a product of all those little experiences, big and small. And today I am a product of all those moments, whether they were significant enough or we were wasting time, and in the process of wasting time, you were also processing a whole lot of other interaction that was going on. So for me, there is no final image that I can say, well, this is it, and these are my 50 images or 100 images. This is just a selection put together because also, as I started from photojournalism, working with the Statesman newspaper and then with India Today for 10 years, and then moved on to doing photography for myself. So all these years, the journey has been, different and changing in many ways. So there is no hard and fast rule, in creativity. So you travel from anywhere to anywhere, and in the process, the only criteria is that, you see, we've also started a photography magazine, serious photography magazine called Creative Image. I have to say this, that most of the existing photography magazines are so commercial and they look like cousins of each other. And today, because every cell phone has a camera. Every other person is taking a picture everywhere. And when they take their family pictures and friends and they, capture something and that looks, oh my God, it's so nice, let's buy a DSLR camera. So thousands of people are becoming photographers. And so many young minds are engaged in this process. It has become so democratic and so easy for anybody to take pictures and see it on a big screen and enjoy it. And the existing magazines are so bad that, that pollution, that contamination that has gone on into photography. So the idea was to start a magazine which gives a fresh idea and the vision of those masters from India, from America, from Japan, from anywhere, and where photography, how it started and where it's going today. So similarly, when I talk about these great photographers, I also look at my own work according to today's sensibility and responsibility. That does my image taken, well, it's almost 50 years now. And what I did 50 years ago or 45 years ago or whatever, does it have the current to sustain itself in today's context? And this is how, so, you pick up randomly, all right, different periods, different kind of work, and put it together in a book. This was the idea they wanted to do. I said, let's go ahead and do it, because also it's smaller size, it's priced at much lower so that more people can access it. That was also the idea.
Yeah, in the book, which I've enjoyed going through, and it has some wonderful moments in it, but when you see those photographs which are taken over a span of time and which include, for example, your street photography, your photojournalism, your portraiture, your adventurous pictures, your landscape pictures, your photographs of artists and musicians, etc., etc. There's a whole range of things you have included. Yeah. One question that comes to mind is, how does the mind of the photographer work? For example, there are photographs in the book, some absolutely lovely pictures of the Dalai Lama or of Mother Teresa. These are some of your great pictures. And at the same time, there is a photograph of the Golden Temple, which was demolished during Operation Blue Star.
Not demolished, but
and,
yeah.
Well, part of it,
yeah.
The Akal Takht at least, and which you managed to photograph by smuggling a camera inside. Now, how does that work? How does the mind of the photographer work when photographing something like that, vis-a-vis photographing something which may be, say, more peaceful, like a saintly person or something?
His Holiness the Dalai Lama.
Yeah.
No, you see, when you are on a job, working for a newspaper or a magazine, then it becomes a responsibility that you bring back something that captures the essence of the situation at that given time. So, going into Golden Temple when they were not allowing anybody, the army was still in control. So you find out ways how ordinary people are getting in as the pilgrims, So you become one of those pilgrims, carrying flowers, whole lot of them, nobody was stopping them. So I thought of the idea that, okay, I borrow a small camera from somebody, buy a whole lot of flowers, put it in a cloth bag, and hide that little camera inside those flower garlands and things, and I smuggled in and did my work. That was one thing. But then, these news assignments and feature stories have their parameters, and within those parameters, you have to explore other possibilities so that what you bring back has the power and the information and the knowledge and the intuitive kind of truth about it, which is more important than the news photography. So similarly, I have worked with Mother Teresa when I started taking her pictures when she was very little known to the last day when she passed away. And the experience I had gone through with Mother was so amazing. And now we have His Holiness the Dalai Lama. Well, basically Buddhism was dead in India for all practical purposes, though it was born and brought up here in Southeast Asia. But thanks to His Holiness that He's brought it back to India in living form. And I promise you, I have known him since 1975. And India is so lucky. We are so blessed that Mother Teresa, a nun from Albania, had to come all the way to India to become our mother. And now His Holiness the Dalai Lama, the most revered and loved person. And his energy and his spirituality is so unbelievable that it's another world altogether. And now the purpose of photography, that we take pictures of physical reality. Now physical reality, to have that exposure and technical knowledge is one thing. Now I am old enough to have enough experience of controlling technically what I need to capture. But then the spiritual energy of the person has so much power about it. And in that space, when you find His Holiness in any given space, what is it that captures that spiritual energy is what matters to me. And that is a nudge, a whisper, in moments which speak for themselves, and instantaneously you respond and you capture that spiritual essence of His Holiness. And I promise you, I can tell you one thing, I have never met God. I have never seen Him. But I am very sure, after spending so much time with His Holiness, Christ, Buddha, Guru Nanak must have been like Him. Because today, wherever He sits, wherever He goes, the energy, the love, the compassion, and anybody who looks at Him and He looks back at you, is so much power of compassion and love. It flows, and the purity of it. And how can you possibly miss it in that given space? When discipline of the camera that you've achieved, it fulfills my frames, with that power. So I feel very blessed about it. In a way, you're right. We should be showing some of the photographs of His Holiness, what I mean by His spiritual energy,
Yeah, but I'd like to challenge you on this. The camera is such a banal instrument. It's a technological instrument of flatness. It's a two-dimensional device. It simply records a moment and nothing else. Now, with that instrument, do you need to be always in front of a holy person, someone called His Holiness or someone called Mother, to get spirituality in the frame, or can you get it from life on the street, from ordinary people?
Absolutely, because, ordinary people in the streets and their ordinary daily lives they are lived, there is something spiritual about those daily lives also.
What would a photographer have to do to enter
Very
that
simple. In today's technology, digital technology is very easy. So what you do is, you take your heart out and put it in the sensor of the camera. And that sensor of the camera, if that is your heart, then all the magic gets captured. You see, the difference is, in creativity, the difference is that, especially in photography, that this is the biggest computer God has been installing in each one of us. And this computer, you can increase the memory to anything. And they say we use maybe 3% of our intellect, which means so much is still available to us. But in creativity, this is the biggest block. Because this is a memory house of ideas, sights, sounds, images. And when a creative process happens, it can't happen through your head, which is a storehouse of all these ideas. You have to switch off this computer and again connect your camera with your heart, with your heart's eyes. And when your heart's eyes start to feel and see the world, then everything changes. And then it's one-to-one between you and the situation. And that's where everything, and really that intuitive energy that comes from very spiritual and honest response to situations speaks differently.
You've been a very influential photo editor working with teams of young photographers. How would you impart this idea to someone who's just coming into the field and has
No, we've been having many workshops and detailed workshops. And I explain the process because I am not a writer. I don't read many books. I am a product of my own personal experience. To put it simply, that I have grown click by click. I have learned about life and nature click by click. So when youngsters interact with me, I explain precisely the process of creativity and image making in very simple terms. And in any case, for me, literature and philosophies are born later on. हमारे हिंदी में कहते हैं जीना अति उत्तम है. The one who lives through experience with sensitivity and awareness, first there's a moment of revelation and realization. You go through that moment and then you say, oh my God, yes, this is what it was. Then it becomes a philosophy or an idea. So the process of experience and living through an experience and those revelations and the discipline of the medium to click at the same time, this is where the magic lies, for me.
But there's obviously something that you do. I think you carry a bag full of clouds with you whenever you go on a photo assignment. Because whether you're in Mahabalipuram, whether you're on Marine Drive, whether you're in Ladakh, whether you are on a river front, on the Ganges, every frame is suffused with a plethora of clouds, different kind of cloud shapes, which add intensely to your frame. How do you materialize these clouds out of thin air?
Well, I can go a step further. You see, what happens when you look at the world and you are making a connection, the connection has to be 100%. Means mentally, physically, and spiritually you have to be one and connected with every inch of space. That is one part of creative process. Second part, I think each one of us are born with some kind of music, some kind of rhythm that keeps playing in all of us. For me, listening to this talk was so wonderful, such a great experience, and his spontaneous Sanjay was. Yeah, I haven't heard his music, but I'm sure he must be producing great music. Because his spontaneity and his truthfulness about his journey was so brilliant and so touching. So, each one of us, we have our own music playing in us, and I love classical music, and I have had great interaction with Subbalakshmi ji, especially S. Balchandra ji. People thought that Carnatic Sangeet, as everybody was saying, has its own tradition and discipline, and he broke that every time. And with each stroke, he stopped his swaras in the space, in a meditative space, and you wondered where they are going to take you. So what happens is that when your own music is playing inside you, your own ragas are going on inside you, and this time because you connected with every inch of space, so the raga is being created with every element around you. And when your spiritual self is so deeply connected with every inch of space, the nature, the life begins to perform for you. How's that? Wonderful. And I promise you, from nowhere, from wherever, something turns up when you are connected and there. And the grace is so important in daily life that brings in magic for you. So I feel the clouds turn up. You see, S. Balchandra ji, his strokes of veena were so deep and intense and meditative that when I was doing a feature on him, I said, Balchandraji, let's go to Mahabalipuram because the big rock, the butterball, which is a grand experience. Visually, it's an amazing experience. So I said, Balchandraji, we go there. He said, yes, sure. And he was a guy who was interested in, doing different things at different times. So we go there. I make him sit on the base where that butterball is standing. And the clouds turn up suddenly, rising from behind. And in such rhythm. And then one of the picture has 5 men walking vertically. And him sitting here and the big butterball. And those 5 figures signify the notes. And the magic of the clouds and the butterball. So nature, when you perform for nature, nature performs for you. And the magic must go on. And that's why I lay a lot of emphasis on instinctive response to situations.
I've also heard from you the story of the shot you took on the Banaras Ghats of the woman on the parapet.
Yeah.
And nothing was working for you. And then suddenly one magic happened. Could you describe that?
Yeah, you see, actually, the pictures that I took in my first year of picking up a camera. And my elder brother, S. Paul, who's 11 years senior to me. So, I'll process the film and show it to him. And he'll say, oh, Raghu, this is a very good picture. And I used to say, oh, really? Now, you see why? Because I started taking photographs because my brother was doing it. And my first photograph that I took, he sent it to London Times newspaper and it got published on half page with my byline. So I thought, since I am not doing anything, let me start doing photography.
And that was a photograph of a baby donkey.
Donkey, yes. And that was published in the Times half page. And now, even that picture when I took and my brother saw it, he says, very good picture. I said, really? Because, no, why? This process is very important to share, especially with young people. That I had no plans to become a photographer. I just started doing it because I wasn't doing anything else. But whatever pictures I took even in my initial years, they were taken, some of the frames that I clicked were done instinctively. That the feeling, that's so nice. What it is was another matter, which my brother told me, and which I later discovered because I was instinctive and quick with the camera, I got those moments. And later on, precisely, then you discuss and then you talk about them and you say, wow, this makes sense, But at that process, nobody else exists. No other photographer, no other writer, no camera, nothing. It's you and the situation and your interaction. And that moment has to be captured instinctively and instantaneously. The magic happens.
You're talking about that Banaras Ghat.
And the Banaras picture, coming back to Banaras picture, even another picture, I have a whole lot of sparrows. I had a normal lens, ordinary camera, and on the roadside I was walking, I saw sparrows picking grains. And beautiful sparrows, a spread of sparrows. So I turn on my camera, I'm looking through the lens, and I say, yeah, it's interesting, but not enough. And then suddenly a myna, a blackbird, lands in the middle of them all. And within a second, all those little sparrows, they leave space for the bird. And they are all around him. I take a click, one picture, and the bird disappears. As if he was made to land for my photograph. Similarly, you see, I'm standing on the Banaras Ghats. A lady, old lady, was tying up her sari. And the steps of this structure were beautiful. And the platform being created, and the Ganga at the back, and a little bit of clouds. And again, I have framed my picture and I said, no, God, it's not enough. And suddenly a bird comes flying from behind. It energizes the space. So this is where you have to wait. And then nature blesses you with these moments.
Can you tell us a little bit more about what you mean by this energizing of that picture frame? What is that energy?
Energy, I'll tell you, in different way. There are two couples sitting. One couple, man tells the girl, I love you. There's another couple sitting there. The man says, hey, I love you. The man who said, I love you, the words are the same. But the somebody who says, oh man, I love you, has energy, has the current. Isn't it? It touches anybody to hear somebody telling somebody, I love you. So beautiful. This is energy, this is current, this is emotion, this is the magic.
So as a prolific photographer who has gone close to these kind of beautiful, magical, spiritual moments, you have been equally exposed to situations which are laden with pain. As a news photographer, probably this was your daily bread and butter, where you go to areas where there are riots, where there are wars happening. You have covered
Bhopal Gas Tragedy,
and all that, Delhi, the 1984, etc., etc. Bangladesh refugees coming in. What kind of attitude does one have as a photographer when you go? Is it the attitude of a parasite who goes and captures what is there to capture, or is there another sensitivity that you can play with in the situations?
Well,
because sometimes you are really bothered about the story. You don't want to miss that story, and
yeah.
it could be a harsh reality at that point.
Yeah. You know, like when Bhopal Gas Tragedy was happening, in the middle of the night, our editors in India knew that the gas was leaking, people were running for their lives and they were dying. And by 12:31 at night, I got a call from my Paris office, Magnum Photos, that, you know, this is happening. I said, yes, I'm going there tomorrow morning. So next day morning, we take the first flight, we get there. And the gas leak went on for a couple of hours. And in any case, the gas was heavier than the air. That toxic gas was heavier than the air. So it was not flying off, it was crawling, and that's why so many deaths took place. Now we get there, and we are not worried about that content of that gas still being there in the air. We are not bothered about it. But somebody can say, you parasites, you arrive there, you start photographing the dying people or the dead ones. I mean, who's got time to think about these matters, you know? And this is not your bread and butter. This is your responsibility as a photojournalist or a journalist to capture the essence of that situation, essence of that tragedy, regardless of what it's going to cost you. So it's no attitude. It has to be free of attitude, simple, honest response to the situations. And in my thinking, whether I'm doing photojournalism, whether I'm doing portraiture, whether I'm dealing with clouds, again, your heart is at stake. You know? Your heartbeat is at stake. And the moment you invest your heartbeat into any given situation, and the situation takes away your heartbeat, and you blended that heartbeat to the image, then it beats for itself.
You returned often to Bhopal to shoot the situation there with the victims' families and so on, and you even curated a very interesting exhibition of your photographs in Bhopal and other places. In context of these kind of huge, big tragedies, what do you think photography can contribute, besides being just a evidence of the moment and an eyewitness to the occasion?
No, frankly speaking, you know, I don't think we, at least the pressmen, beyond a point can bring about any change in the society on larger context. We are not those kind of people. And whatever photography we do, sometimes it creates awareness, it reminds people about what has gone on, and if it is still going on. In case of Bhopal Gas Tragedy, they said those who inhaled enough gas, they were lucky because they died right away. And those who inhaled less gas, their lungs were affected, their hearts were affected, and they were dying a slow death. So initially, 3,000 people were dead on first 2 days. And in 20 years, over 22,000 people are dead because people are still dying, which means we need to remind our rulers, our government, our bureaucrats that the tragedy is still going on. And let me tell you, when I did this big project for Greenpeace, they created several sets of exhibitions and a book which went around the world. Jack Anderson was caught. Somebody from America rang up from there, after seeing the exhibition that he's living next door. And then he was traced. Then the government of India gave them second set of compensation, which was something very rare. But I don't say that every time we do something, we bring about change. Only thing is a reminder.
You were also witness to another tragic, I would say, criminal moment in Indian history, which was in 1992, the demolition of Babri Masjid. And you and entire group of photographers was present there, and you got badly attacked. And
no, not me, my son and Pablo.
Snatched, yeah.
They were badly beaten and they were taken to the hospital, and, all that was over by 8:39 in the evening. And my son and Pablo, they didn't return to the hotels. So at 12 o'clock, I was looking for my son and Pablo, and it was so cold in December months. And there were so many people who got hurt, and they were lying in the corridors of those small towns hospital. So we were lifting blankets of each one and seeing, where is my son, where is Pablo? This was the thing that was done by those fundamentalists,
So what is your, let's say, reaction to this kind of stopping of photographers from, let's say, being witnesses to that moment?
No, different situations, people respond differently, and especially religious fundamentalists, they will never let you photograph the truth. This happens everywhere, in our own country also. And it's happening in other parts of the world also. Well, you have to either be very clever in order to capture something, but you are nobody to, you can't do anything about it. If the mob is ready to kill you for a picture, so you have to take a decision whether you want to die for it without delivering a photograph.
You have dedicated this book, Picturing Time, to the people of the country who made these pictures possible, and you used the word...
who blessed me with these moments.
You said, you used the word darshan.
Darshan.
So that's a very interesting word for me. How would you distinguish between drishya and darshan?
Well, everything is a drishya. But see, it's like this, which I have said earlier also. When you invest 100% mentally, physically and spiritually, and when you are deeply connected, the experience of a situation or a person in its entirety is a darshan. You see, like sometimes you go to somebody's office or place, and that person is so much there, so transparently there, so wonderfully there, that you talk to him for 5 minutes and you say, "Aapke darshan karke bahut aanandit hue." That I have seen you, I have experienced you, I have known you, is darshan. And let me tell you, there is no other word in any other language equivalent to darshan. And darshan is entirety of experience.
And that is part of your photography.
That is absolutely. Photography is seeing. Seeing has to be little more than seeing, is a darshan. So each image should give you a darshan of life.
Yeah. We are being shown signals that it's time to wrap up. Uh, but one final question before we open it to the floor. I mean, we are living in times when the image has become completely pedestrian. Billions of people taking billions of images for any and every occasion, and if you actually make small prints of this and put them next to each other, it can probably envelop the earth 2 times over. That many number of images we're producing now. So kind of image overkill. We're in a society of image overkill. What does one do, therefore, to recover that more honest and meaningful and communicative space for the photographic image? Or is that period over? The period of the sacred image, the image that the Cartier-Bresson kind of decisive moment where that one image spoke to you, is that phase over, or has photography moved into a different space?
No, you see, in any art form, the change is inevitable and it must happen, which is happening in photography more so because of digital technology, because everybody has a camera. The cosmetic effects are there and very easy to make very attractive, very colorful pictures. Also to pick up any element from anywhere and install it in your own space, whether it existed there or not, it doesn't matter. But then the fact remains the churning must go on. All kinds of experiments are happening in Photoshop, otherwise, so many things people are doing. But the fact remains that somebody who's committed to capturing the truth of a situation will never indulge in those things. So the only difference is that now there are thousands and thousands of photographers, young and whosoever, middle-aged or old, doing pictures, bombarding all the social media, and it's becoming unbelievable experience. But those few who have the integrity and honesty. And for me, very frankly, the purpose of photography, I must say, is very different than writing and painting. They say history is written, but also history can be rewritten. For me, the purpose of photography is to capture the time we live in. But the time and the moment that you capture has to have power and essence of that time, which reflects and stands alive for itself, which means this is a visual history of our time being recorded as a responsible, creative individual. So history can be written and rewritten, but photo history cannot be rewritten. And even today, people refer to images to find out the truth, to see the footage that went on, So all this is very different, for me.
Yeah, and the evidence of the fact that Raghu is still out there in front at the cutting edge of the practices, all the new practices that have arisen before us, is probably this recent book that he has published. The whole thing, India through the eyes of Raghu Rai, but the whole thing is on the mobile camera, phone camera. So thank you very much, Raghu, and we'll now take questions from the floor. Yes, can somebody reach a mic?
Hello, sir. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
My small question is, please explain the relationship between Drusya and Darshana. Drusya and Darshana. Darshanam.
Ras and Darshan.
Drishya and Darshan. You already did that. Drishya and Darshan.
Drishya and Darshan I have already explained. Drishya is just seeing. Darshan is experiencing and understanding situations in its entirety. That I have already explained,
So if time permits, can we have the chance of seeing some of the beautiful photos of Raghu Rai, sir?
I'm so sorry, I haven't brought any just now because 40 minutes, 45 minutes means, You know, we haven't even done complete conversation and the time is over, you know.
Sir,
Yeah.
good afternoon, sir. Is there any place in India or the world that you would like to still go around and take a picture which you think that's not discovered yet?
Oh, the world is too large, you know, too
Any place specific?
You know, and in any case, it's not any new place, no matter which place you are in. If your heart is at the right place at the right time, every place has to offer you something different all over again and yet again. And that is the magic of creativity. So you don't have to go to that part of the world which you haven't visited. You know, within my own, let me tell you first of all, India is my whole world. I primarily work only in India. And I tell you, there are so many places that I have visited. And my understanding, my experience has been incomplete for various reasons, or my own inadequacies in moments, or for lack of discipline, or for the light, or something. And they keep calling me back. I need to go back to them. You know, I don't have to go to the rest of the world to find myself.
और सेल्फी के बारे में क्या बताना चाहते हैं आप?
Selfie. You see, the problem with selfie, it's a lot of fun, but every cell phone, the lens it has is a wide angle lens. And it distorts faces. Whether Modi takes it or Obama takes it, it doesn't matter. They are all distorted. But it's fun. You see?
Yes, sir, I have one question. See, I just want to ask you, what is the secret of your success? What made you sit over there and tell experience to me? If I am a youngster, some point of time I want to be there and face the audience, what are the steps I need to follow? Maybe after 2 years or 3 years, I want to sit on this panel and address these people.
Why not now? Come. If they give us time, please.
Sir, is there any moment in your life for which you...
No, just a minute, let me answer.
One second.
So what is the step I need to follow? People are saying I read a lot of books, I watch cinema. And how you people balance your life between the work culture and the other things? Because if life is not just success, right? But I'm waiting for an opportunity where I can sit on that panel and address people. So what is the secret of your success and how do you balance your life? So what are some tips you...
First of all, life and nature. When I interact and I walk through those lanes and by-lanes of life is ever challenging and the darshan is unbelievable. And I fall inadequate. I am not enough to capture all that. That I tell you, people say, oh, today I'm getting bored, I've got nothing to do. I promise you, I have never ever felt I have got nothing to do. The world, the life, the nature is so fascinating that I wish I was 5, 6, 8 of me doing different things at different times. Why? Because I live from my heart and not from my head. And I don't compare, I don't care about those things, you know, sitting here or sitting there. How I wish I was sitting in a situation where darshan is an inevitable. You see, so what you need to do is, if you want to become a photographer, you have this computer here which has stored many things. So do not take all those good pictures which are stored here, which you've seen before. Because otherwise you'll be repeating somebody else. So interact with the world from your heart and start seeing and experiencing the world all over again through your eyes. And then people will start respecting you as an individual. And then they will make you sit here. This is a shortcut I'm giving you.
Hello. Sir, I saw one of your photographs of MS Subbulakshmi in Hindu recently. Could you please give your experience of that photograph that you have taken? It was a very intense and beautiful photograph. MS Subbulakshmi.
Photographing MS Subbulakshmi.
You see, may I say something a little rude? That Subbulakshmi ji was, if I compare Subbulakshmi ji with Balchandra ji, She was not such an explorer like Balchandraji. And she sang within the traditions. But what was so special about her? She was, each time she started to sing, she would close her eyes. She would get connected to that divine power and that devotion and that pain, that tarap jisko bolte hain, to become one with him. You could experience through her voice. And in that photograph, you can see that pain, that tarap, that connection, to become one with him.
Whatever you've been
Sorry?
Speak into the mic, please.
somehow, I think all of us, including me, have been responding spontaneously to whatever you've been saying, or I don't know, whatever you've been revealing, rather. But this has been my I should close my brain, but still, this has been my what should I put it? I don't know how to put it. What I want to ask you is, these are moments of grace, but can the whole life can we be in that space, in that revelatory space forever? Is it possible?
Well, if you go to an ashram or a jungle, then you'll continuously be living in that kind of space. Because today's world is so chaotic and full of stress and strain and, all kinds of situations, But nevertheless, if anybody asks me, can I meditate? No, I cannot. But when I pick up my camera, there are moments of meditation, blissful experiences, and grace.
Exactly.
So start practicing something on regular basis. And that will give you the bliss,
So whatever we love to do, we should be at it.
Yes, absolutely. God bless you.
You're sounding like a Swami,
Huh?
You're sounding like a Swami.
What to do?
Sir, is there any moment? Is there any moment in your life which you could not get through your lens? Now you think that it should have been taken.
Say that again.
Sir, is there any moment in your life?
Many moments.
Sir,
I don't even know how many of them. And they could be turning up again, tomorrow, right, the moment I go out. Many moments are waiting.
Sir, but the best one of them that still keeps your mind.
No, you see, if you say this building is very nice, which is the best brick in this building? We don't think like that. Yes, sir.
What tip you want to give to a person who has just a mobile phone to become a great photographer?
Buy a good camera.
सर यहाँ पे ऊपर सर जी मेरा नाम सागर है और मैं 19 साल का हूँ मेरे इस उम्र में क्या आप मुझे कुछ सजेशन देना चाहेंगे कि मैं मेरा जीवन किस तरह जीऊँ
बाबा यार मैं स्वामी नहीं हूँ
नहीं सर आपके एक्सपीरियंस के
आप मेरे चरणों में आ जाओ मैं आपको बहुत प्यार दूंगा और आपको फिर शायद रास्ता मिल जाएगा ठीक है
नहीं वैसे नहीं सर
नहीं देखो ऐसा है
जी सर
whatever you want to do whatever you choose to do it with mind spirit and body wholeheartedly and you will make a success of it whatever
thank you sir
Sir, how would you study your own photograph? How would you study your own photograph?
You see, ऐसा है. You see, I try to avoid going to these kind of talks, and as it is, I do lots of workshops for young photographers. And when I have to speak, I was sharing with a friend on the way that when I speak, who is the first casualty? Me, myself. Because I have to hear him over and over and over again. And I find it very boring. And I promise you, once I have captured the moment, initial years I used to take the photograph home, look at it several times, feel very happy. Today, it's a release, it's a fulfillment. I don't want to look at it again and again. It's over. Because tomorrow, something else is waiting to come my way, which could be totally different. And I promise you, in last 2 months, I haven't done any photography. I am so scared of picking up a camera because I don't know what to photograph now. And where it will take me, what will happen, this is the fun of it. If you keep going back, and I don't believe in nostalgic nonsense. Oh, we used to do this, or I have done this. It's done and over.
No, sir, I am asking about your face. How do you study your photograph?
I don't study it anymore. I study life and nature. The only book that I have been reading continuously is Life and Nature, which is endless in its expression. And that's what matters to me.
Sir, of
I
all
think we'll take the last question.
Sir, of all the photographs you've taken, and so beautiful ones, which would you rate as your most memorable?
The one to come.
Thank
Okay?
you.
Thank you very much. देखिए एक उर्दू का शेर है, हजारों ख्वाहिशें ऐसी कि हर ख्वाहिश पे दम निकले, बहुत निकले मेरे अरमान, लेकिन फिर भी कम निकले.
I think the abstract of what Raghu has been trying to say in various ways is the ability of a photographer who has made a difference to the way all of us see things is a quality of anticipation. There is this anticipation that something is going to happen, something is going to turn up, something different will present itself to me. And it's, I think, encapsulated in this extraordinary photograph that Raghu Rai managed to take. Once again, it's a surprise how that moment happened when, after the emergency, when the elections happened, and Mrs. Gandhi lost with a, with a huge deficit she lost. All Raghu had to go was to go out on the pavement of Delhi early morning, and there was a sweeper who was sweeping into the basket a poster that was falling from the wall of Mrs. Gandhi's face, was being swept into the dustbin of history.
Asking for votes.
Asking for votes. Yeah, quite an amazing photograph, and these are the kind of moments that continuously have happened to him, and those are the moments that are captured in this book. Please go ahead and get one if you haven't got one yet. Thank you very much.